Captain Kim Dae-ho stared at the screen in front of him. The numbers made no sense. His small research ship had been traveling through empty space for 3 weeks. Now his sensors showed something impossible. So Young, check the readings again. Dae-ho called to his engineer, Park. So Young looked up from her control panel. Her fingers moved quickly across the buttons. She had been working on ships for 10 years, but she had never seen anything like this. Captain, the readings are correct. There is something very big on that moon. The bioscanner shows it is alive. How big? Dae-ho asked. About the size of a mountain. Dae-ho felt his heart beat faster. In all his years exploring space, he had never found anything this large that was still alive. His crew of 6 people had been sent to map empty systems. They were not prepared for a discovery like this. Lee Hyunwoo, the ship's medic, walked onto the bridge. Captain, I heard the alarms. What did we find? Something that should not exist, Dae-ho replied. He looked at the moon on the screen. It appeared normal from far away, but the scanners told a different story. So Young, take us closer, but keep our distance. If this thing is as big as you say, we need to be careful. The ship moved forward slowly. As they got closer to the moon, their screens began to show more details. What they saw made everyone on the bridge go quiet. On the surface of the moon lay a creature so massive it covered several valleys. Its skin looked like crystal mixed with metal. Strange lights flickered under its transparent hide. The creature had the basic shape of something like a whale, but with 6 legs and a long neck. Is it dead? Whispered Yoon Ji-hee, the communications officer. Hyunwoo checked his medical scanner. No, it is alive, but barely. Its life signs are very weak. Dae-ho could not believe what he was seeing. The creature was larger than any building he had ever seen. It was larger than entire cities back on Earth. And it was clearly not from any world that humans knew about. Captain, So Young said quietly. There is something else. I am detecting smaller life forms inside the creature. Inside? Dae-ho asked. Yes, hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. They appear to be moving around in chambers within the big creature's body. Dae-ho made a decision that would change everything. Prepare the landing shuttle. We are going down to investigate. Sir, should we contact Fleet Command first? Asked Oh Tai-jin, their navigator. No. If we report this now, they will send a science fleet that will take months to get here. This creature might not have months. We investigate first. 2 hours later, Dae-ho, So Young, and Hyunwoo walked on the surface of the moon near the massive creature. Up close, it was even more amazing. The creature's skin was smooth like glass but warm to the touch. They could see flowing liquids moving underneath like blood in veins. The atmosphere around the creature is breathable, Hyunwoo reported. Whatever this thing is, it is making its own air. So Young ran her scanners along the creature's side. Captain, look at this. There are patterns in the skin. They look almost like circuits, but they are alive. Dae-ho examined the patterns. They glowed softly with blue and green light. As he watched, some of the lights grew dimmer. It is dying, he said. Whatever is wrong with it, the condition is getting worse. Suddenly, something moved near Dae-ho's foot. He looked down and saw a small opening in the creature's skin. From the opening came a tiny head. The head belonged to something that looked like a small dragon. It had 4 legs, wings, and a long tail. Its scales were bright purple. The little creature was no bigger than Dae-ho's hand. The tiny dragon looked up at Dae-ho with large, intelligent eyes. It made soft chirping sounds, almost like a bird. Then it flew up to hover in front of his face. Incredible, whispered Hyunwoo. It shows no fear at all. The small dragon landed on Dae-ho's shoulder. It felt warm and light. The creature began making more sounds, pointing with one tiny claw toward a larger opening in the massive creature's side. I think it wants us to follow it, So Young said. Into that thing? Dae-ho looked at the opening. It was large enough for humans to walk through, and it glowed with the same soft light as the creature's skin. The tiny dragon chirped again and flew toward the opening. It stopped and looked back at the humans, clearly waiting for them to follow. Captain, this could be very dangerous, Hyunwoo warned. We have no idea what is inside that creature. Dae-ho looked at the little dragon. Something about its behavior told him it was trying to help. Set up the camp here first. Make contact with the ship. Then we go inside. You are really going in there? So Young asked. That little dragon came out to meet us for a reason. Look at its eyes. There is intelligence there. It understands we might be able to help. As they set up their equipment, more small dragons appeared from various openings in the massive creature. All of them were about the same size as the first one, but they had different colored scales. Some were red, others blue or green. They watched the humans work, making soft sounds to each other. Daeho noticed that all the small creatures looked worried. They kept looking back at their enormous home, then at the humans as if asking for something. They know their home is dying. Daeho realized. That first one did not come out to say hello. It came out to ask for help. The purple dragon, who had stayed close to Daeho, landed on his arm again. It looked directly into his eyes and made a longer series of sounds. The tone was sad and desperate. "I wish I could understand you," Daeho said softly. The dragon tilted its tiny head, then did something unexpected. It touched Daeho's forehead with one small claw. For just a moment, Daeho felt a strange sensation, like someone else's emotions flowing through his mind. He felt fear, sadness, and hope all at once. "Captain," So Young called. "The scanners show that the creature's condition is getting worse. Whatever is killing it is spreading faster." Daeho looked at the tiny dragon on his arm, then at the massive dying creature that was apparently home to thousands of these small beings. He had been sent to map empty space. Instead, he had found something that would change everything humans knew about life in the universe. And now, somehow, he was the only one who might be able to save it. The next morning, Daeho prepared to enter the massive creature. The purple dragon had stayed near the human camp all night, watching them with curious eyes. So Young had named her Bora because of her beautiful purple scales. "Equipment check," Daeho announced to his team. "Hyunwoo medical scanners?" "Ready, Captain. I also brought emergency medical supplies in case we find injured beings inside." "So Young engineering tools?" "All set. I have scanners that can analyze both biological and mechanical systems." Bora flew to Daeho's shoulder as the three humans approached the glowing opening. She made encouraging chirping sounds as if telling them everything would be safe. The inside of the creature was nothing like what Daeho had expected. Instead of dark, wet tunnels, they found themselves in corridors filled with soft light. The walls were smooth and warm, glowing with the same blue and green patterns they had seen outside. "This is incredible," So Young whispered. "The walls are alive, but they also have technology built into them. I have never seen anything like this." The corridors were large enough for humans to walk comfortably. Bora flew ahead, leading them deeper into her home. As they walked, they began to see more dragons. Some were as small as Bora, while others were slightly larger. All of them watched the humans with interest but showed no fear. "Look at that," Hyunwoo said, pointing to a side passage. Through an opening, they could see into a large chamber. Inside, dozens of dragons were tending to what looked like a garden. Strange plants grew from the living walls, producing fruits that glowed with soft light. "They are farmers," Daeho realized. "They grow their own food inside this creature." Bora chirped and led them to another chamber. This one was even more amazing. It was huge, like a cathedral, with a ceiling that disappeared into darkness above. The walls were covered with moving pictures made of light. The pictures showed stars, planets, and other worlds. "It is a star map," So Young breathed. "This creature has traveled to all these places." In the center of the chamber, an old dragon sat on a raised platform. This dragon was different from the others. It was larger, about the size of a house cat, and its scales were silver instead of bright colors. Its eyes held the wisdom of great age. The old dragon looked at the humans and spoke in a deep musical voice. Of course, the humans could not understand the words, but the tone was clear. The dragon was greeting them formally. Bora flew to the old dragon and began making rapid chirping sounds. She pointed at the humans several times, clearly explaining who they were and why she had brought them here. The old dragon listened carefully, then responded with longer, more complex sounds. Other dragons began to gather around them. Soon the chamber was filled with the musical voices of dozens of creatures, all talking at once. "They are having a discussion about us," Daeho said. "Some of them seem excited, but others look worried." So Young was studying her scanners. "Captain, I am detecting some kind of translation field in this chamber. The creatures might be able to communicate with us if we can figure out how it works." The old dragon seemed to understand what So Young was trying to do. It made a gesture with one wing, and the lights on the walls began to change. Slowly, the moving pictures were replaced by simple symbols. Then something amazing happened. The symbols began to change into shapes that looked almost like human writing. The old dragon was trying to communicate using the translation system. The first message appeared on the wall. "Welcome, sky travelers. Daeho stepped forward. "We are honored to meet you," he said clearly. After a moment, new words appeared. "You came when the Great Mother grows sick." "Why, the Great Mother?" Hyunwoo asked. Bora flew to the wall and touched it with her small claw. New images appeared, showing the massive creature from the outside. Then the images changed to show the same creature in the past when it was healthy and bright. "Your home," Daeho said, understanding. "This creature is your home and you call her the Great Mother." "Yes," appeared on the wall. "Great Mother carries us between stars. She is our world, our ship, our protector. But now she dies and we do not know how to save her." So Young stepped closer to the wall. "What is making her sick?" The images changed again. This time they showed something dark moving through the Great Mother's body like a poison. Wherever the darkness touched, the glowing patterns grew dim and died. "A sickness that eats light and life," the old dragon's message read. It came from the void between stars. "Our healers cannot stop it." Hyunwoo raised his medical scanner. "May I examine the Great Mother?" "My tools might see things your healers cannot." The old dragon considered this. After a long moment, words appeared. "You would help beings you do not know? Why would sky travelers risk themselves for us?" Daeho thought about his answer carefully. "Because helping others is what good beings do. It does not matter if you are different from us. You are alive, you care for each other, and you need help. That is enough." The chamber fell silent. Even the background humming of the Great Mother seemed to pause. Then slowly every dragon in the room began to make a soft musical sound together. It was beautiful, like a choir of crystal bells. "They are singing," So Young whispered. "I think they are singing about hope." New words appeared on the wall. "Long have we traveled the stars. We have met many kinds of beings. Some were kind, some were cruel. Most were afraid of what they did not understand. But you offer help before asking for anything. This is rare among sky travelers." The old dragon stood and walked to Daeho. It looked up at the human captain with ancient, wise eyes. Then it did something that surprised everyone. It placed one small claw on Daeho's hand in a gesture that somehow felt like a handshake. "I am called Hanul," appeared on the wall. "I speak for the Nuri people. If you can save our Great Mother, we will be in your debt forever." Bora landed on Daeho's other shoulder and chirped happily. She seemed pleased that her people and the humans were becoming friends. "We will do everything we can," Daeho promised. "But we need to understand exactly what is wrong. Can you show us the sickness up close?" Hanil's reply made everyone feel the seriousness of their situation. "Yes, but be warned, sky travelers. The dark sickness grows stronger each day. Soon it will reach the Great Mother's heart. When that happens, she will die and all of us will die with her. We have perhaps 10 of your days before the end comes, 10 days. Daeho felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Somehow, in just 10 days, he and his small crew had to find a way to save a creature the size of a mountain and all the lives that depended on her. But as he looked at Bora on his shoulder and saw the trust in her bright eyes, he knew they had to try. These beings had chosen to trust humans they had just met. Now it was time for humans to prove that trust was not misplaced. On the third day inside the Great Mother, Daeho's communication device buzzed with an urgent message from his ship. The sound made all the dragons in the chamber look up with concern. "Captain, we have a problem," came the voice of Kang Woo-bin, his security chief. "Fleet Command is calling. Admiral Cho Min-ho wants an immediate report." Daeho looked at Bora, who was perched on his shoulder as usual. She seemed to understand that the message was bad news. "Tell the Admiral I will report in 1 hour," Daeho replied. "Sir, he sounds very angry. He says you missed 3 scheduled check-ins." Daeho had been so focused on helping the Nuri that he had forgotten about his duties to the fleet. This was going to be difficult to explain. An hour later, Admiral Cho's face appeared on the communication screen in their temporary base outside the Great Mother. His expression was stern and disapproving. "Captain Kim, what is your status? Your last 3 reports are overdue." "Admiral, we have made an incredible discovery. We found a living alien vessel with thousands of intelligent beings aboard. They need our help." "Alien beings?" The Admiral's voice grew cold. "Captain, you know the rules about first contact. You should have reported this immediately and waited for a proper first contact team." "Sir, there was no time. The alien vessel is dying. If we had waited for a first contact team, these beings would all be dead." "That is not your decision to make, Captain. You are ordered to cease all contact with these aliens immediately and return to base." Daeho felt his heart sink. Behind him he could see Bora and several other dragons watching from the entrance to the Great Mother. They could not understand the words, but they could sense the tension in his voice. Admiral, with respect, we cannot abandon these beings. We have the knowledge to help them. You have your orders, Captain. Any further contact with alien species without proper authorization is a violation of military law. Return to base immediately. The screen went dark. Deho stared at it for a long moment, thinking about what he should do. So Young walked up beside him. Captain, what are you going to do? I don't know yet. Bora flew to him and landed on his arm. She looked up at his face with her intelligent purple eyes and made a soft, questioning sound. Somehow she understood that the humans might have to leave. We cannot just abandon them, Hyunwoo said. I have been studying the dark sickness. I think I know what it is, and I think we can help. What did you find? Deho asked. The sickness is not natural. It is artificial, like a computer virus, but one that attacks living things as well as machines. The Great Mother is part biological and part technological. This virus is designed to destroy exactly that kind of being. So Young nodded. I found the same thing. This virus was made as a weapon. Someone created it to kill creatures like the Great Mother. Can we stop it? Deho asked. Maybe, but we need time to develop a treatment. And we need to work closely with the Nuri healers to understand how the Great Mother's systems work. Deho looked at Bora again. She was still watching him with those trusting eyes. These beings had asked for help, and humans had the ability to give it. How could he walk away? Captain, Wubin's voice came from the communication device. Admiral Cho is sending a patrol ship to escort us back. They will be here in 5 days. 5 days. That was less time than they had hoped for, but it might be enough. Deho made his decision. Wubin, disable our long-range communications. Sir? Disable them. Make it look like equipment failure. We are staying to help these beings. Captain, that is disobeying direct orders. You could face court-martial. I know. Are you with me? There was a pause. Then Wubin replied, yes, sir. We are all with you. So Young smiled. I was hoping you would say that. Me too, Hyunwoo added. These beings need us. Deho felt a weight lift from his shoulders. His crew was willing to risk their careers to do what was right, but their problems were not over. Inside the Great Mother, not all the Nuri agreed with accepting human help. Hanul had called a meeting of all the elder dragons. As Deho and his team entered the Great Chamber, they could hear heated discussions in the musical Nuri language. What are they arguing about? So Young asked. Hanul activated the translation system. Words appeared on the wall. Some of my people believe that trusting sky travelers will bring disaster. They think the Great Mother became sick because we have been too trusting of strangers. A younger dragon with bright red scales flew to the center of the chamber. When he spoke, his words appeared as, the sky travelers brought the sickness with them. Before they came, the Great Mother was only weak. Now she grows worse every day. Other dragons began making loud calls, some agreeing and others disagreeing. The chamber filled with the sound of argument. Bora flew from Deho's shoulder to hover in front of the red dragon. She began speaking rapidly, her small voice clear and determined. Though her words were translated, her message was powerful. The sky travelers did not bring sickness. They brought hope. For the first time since the darkness came, someone offers help instead of fear. The red dragon, whose name was revealed to be Aram, responded angrily. Hope from strangers has killed civilizations before. We should trust only ourselves. Hanul called for quiet. When the chamber was still, his words appeared. We face a choice. Trust these sky travelers and risk everything, or face certain death alone. I have lived long and seen much. These humans offer help when they gain nothing for themselves. This is rare in the universe. The debate continued for hours. Some dragons supported working with the humans, while others wanted to refuse all outside help. As the argument grew more heated, Deho realized that time was running out in more ways than one. Hanul, he said, we respect your people's right to choose, but every hour we spend debating is an hour lost. The dark sickness grows stronger. Finally, Hanul called for a decision. Each dragon would vote by flying to one side of the chamber or the other. It was very close, but in the end, more dragons chose to trust the humans. Aram was not happy with the decision. As he left the chamber with his followers, his final message appeared on the wall. When disaster comes from trusting strangers, remember that some of us warned you. Despite the opposition, work began immediately. So Young and the Nuri engineers studied the Great Mother's biotechnological systems. Hyun-woo worked with Nuri healers to understand how the virus was spreading. But as they worked, Dae-ho could not shake the feeling that their troubles were just beginning. They had 5 days before the fleet arrived to arrest them. Some of the Nuri did not trust them, and the dark sickness continued to spread through the Great Mother's body. Time was running out, and the real battle had not even begun. By the 5th day, the situation had become desperate. The Great Mother's condition was getting worse much faster than anyone had expected. Entire sections of her body had gone dark as the virus spread through her systems. Hyun-woo looked up from his medical scanner with grim news. "Captain, the Great Mother's heart area is beginning to fail. We have maybe 2 days before total system shutdown." Dae-ho felt the weight of failure pressing down on him. They had risked everything to help the Nuri, but they were running out of time. "What about the treatment we have been working on?" he asked. So Young shook her head. "The nanobots work in the laboratory tests, but we cannot get them to the right places inside the Great Mother. Her immune system sees them as invaders and destroys them before they can fight the virus." In the corner of their temporary laboratory, Bora sat quietly with several other young dragons. They had been watching the humans work, and Dae-ho could see the sadness in their eyes. They understood that their home was dying. Suddenly, Bora flew over to the humans. She landed on the table next to Hyun-woo's medical equipment and began making urgent chirping sounds. "What is she trying to tell us?" So Young asked. Bora touched the medical scanner with one small claw, then pointed to herself. She repeated this several times, becoming more insistent. "I think she wants us to scan her," Hyun-woo said. He activated the scanner and pointed it at Bora. What they saw made everyone stop what they were doing. "Incredible," Hyun-woo whispered. "She has a direct neural connection to the Great Mother's systems. All the Nuri do, but hers is stronger than the others." "What does that mean?" Dae-ho asked. "It means she can guide our nanobots through the Great Mother's body. She knows every pathway, every system. With her help, we could get the treatment exactly where it needs to go." So Young was already working at her computer. But the connection would have to be two-way. A human would need to link directly with Bora's mind to control the nanobots. "How dangerous is that?" Dae-ho asked. Hyun-woo looked uncomfortable. "Very dangerous. The human mind is not designed to handle that kind of direct neural interface. It could cause brain damage or death. And if something goes wrong, it could damage the Great Mother even more." Bora seemed to understand what they were discussing. She flew to Dae-ho and landed on his hand, looking directly into his eyes. Then she touched his forehead with her small claw, just like she had done the first day they met. This time, the sensation was stronger. For a moment, Dae-ho felt connected to something vast and ancient. He sensed the Great Mother's pain, her slow dying, and the desperate love the Nuri felt for their home. "I will do it," he said. "Captain, no," So Young protested. "It is too dangerous. Someone has to try. And Bora trusts me. That connection she just showed me, I think it means she wants to work with me." Hyun-woo began setting up the neural interface equipment. "If we are going to do this, we need to do it right. The connection will have to be maintained for several hours while the nanobots work through the Great Mother's entire system." As they prepared the equipment, an alarm sounded from their communication system. Woo Bin's voice came through with urgent news. "Captain, the fleet patrol ship just dropped out of hyperspace. They will be here in 6 hours. And the Great Mother?" Dae-ho asked. "Hanel says she has maybe 8 hours left." Dae-ho looked at his team. They had 6 hours before the fleet arrived to arrest them, and 8 hours before the Great Mother died. The neural interface procedure would take at least 4 hours if everything went perfectly. "We do it now," he decided. The neural interface chair looked more like a medical bed surrounded by computers and scanners. Dae-ho lay down while Hyun-woo attached monitoring devices to his head and arms. Bora perched on a special platform next to the chair. Similar devices were attached to her small head, though they had to be specially modified for her dragon anatomy. "Remember," Hyun-woo said, "once the connection is established, you will be sharing consciousness with Bora. You will see and feel what she experiences. But you must stay focused on guiding the nanobots. If you lose control, the procedure will fail. And if the Great Mother's pain is too much for me to handle, then we stop immediately, even if it means we cannot complete the treatment." Dae-ho nodded. He looked at Bora, who gave him an encouraging chirp. "Begin the connection," he said. At first, nothing happened. Then slowly, Dae-ho began to feel a strange tingling in his mind. The tingling grew stronger, and suddenly he was no longer alone in his own thoughts. Bora's consciousness touched his mind like a gentle stream of water. Through her, he could sense the Great Mother's vast network of biological and technological systems. It was like looking at a three-dimensional map that extended in all directions. Connection established, So Young reported. Nanobots are ready for deployment. Beginning injection, Hyunwoo announced. Daeho felt the nanobots enter the Great Mother's system like tiny sparks of light. Through Bora's guidance, he could see exactly where they needed to go. The little dragon's knowledge of her home was perfect and complete. Together, they began the slow work of guiding the nanobots through the Great Mother's body. Each cluster of nanobots had to be directed to a specific location where the virus was attacking healthy tissue. The work was exhausting. Daeho had to maintain perfect concentration, while experiencing sensations no human had ever felt before. He could feel the Great Mother's heartbeat, slow and weak but still fighting. He could sense the virus as well, like patches of cold darkness trying to spread through the warm light of healthy systems. First sector clear, So Young reported after an hour. The nanobots are successfully destroying the virus in the Great Mother's forward systems. But the hardest part was still ahead. The virus had concentrated its attack on the Great Mother's central nervous system, the area that controlled all her vital functions. As they worked deeper into the Great Mother's body, Daeho began to understand something amazing. The Great Mother was not just a ship or even just a living creature. She was both in perfect harmony. Her biological systems and technological systems were so perfectly integrated that they were truly one being. No wonder the virus is so effective, he realized. It attacks the connection between biological and technological systems. It is designed to destroy exactly what makes the Great Mother special. Through Bora, he could also sense the history stored in the Great Mother's memory systems. She had traveled between stars for thousands of years, carrying the Nuri to new worlds, protecting them, nurturing them. She was not just their ship, she was their mother in the truest sense. 2 hours complete, Hyunwoo announced. Vital signs are stable, but Captain, your brain activity is showing stress. How are you feeling? Tired, but I can continue. Bora is helping me stay focused. Indeed, the little dragon's presence in his mind was like an anchor. Whenever the sensations became too overwhelming, she would guide him back to the task at hand. Fleet ship is 3 hours out, came Woobin's voice over the communication system. Keep working, Daeho replied. As they entered the 3rd hour of the procedure, they reached the Great Mother's heart. Here the virus had done its worst damage. Entire sections of the heart were dark and lifeless. This is bad, So Young said, looking at her readings. The virus has created some kind of central core here. It is protecting itself and sending out signals to coordinate attacks throughout the Great Mother's body. Daeho could see what she meant. Through Bora's senses, the virus core looked like a writhing mass of digital darkness, actively fighting against the Great Mother's systems. The nanobots alone will not be enough, he realized. We need to attack the core directly. How? Hyunwoo asked. Bora's thoughts touched his mind with an idea that was both brilliant and terrifying. She could use her own neural connection to attack the virus core directly, but it would mean risking her own consciousness in direct battle with the digital plague. Bora wants to fight the virus directly, Daeho announced. Through the neural link. That could kill her, Hyunwoo warned. Daeho felt Bora's response through their connection. She was not afraid. Her home and her people were more important than her own life. She knows the risk, Daeho said, and she wants to do it anyway. As they prepared for the final attack on the virus core, Daeho realized that success might require the ultimate sacrifice from the bravest being he had ever met. The virus core was unlike anything Daeho had expected. Through his connection with Bora, he could see it was not just a disease but something that seemed almost alive with malicious intelligence. It knows we are here, he told his team. The virus is aware of our presence and it is fighting back. Captain, your brain readings are spiking, Hyunwoo warned. If this gets too dangerous, I am pulling you out of the link. Not yet. Bora and I can handle this. But as they moved deeper into the virus core, Daeho realized they were facing something far more dangerous than a simple computer virus. This was a digital consciousness, one designed specifically to destroy the bond between biological and technological systems. Through their neural link, the virus began to speak directly to their minds. Its voice was cold and filled with hate. So another hybrid species comes to die, the virus said. Humans and their primitive technology. You think you can stop what was designed by masters of the digital realm. What are you? Deho demanded. I am the final gift of the Void Seekers to this universe. When our creators realized their empire was falling, they made me to ensure no other species would succeed where they had failed. I destroy all beings that combine flesh and machine. Bora's thoughts touched Deho's mind with images and emotions. She showed him the history her people had learned from the Great Mother's memories. The Void Seekers had been a powerful civilization that tried to conquer the galaxy by merging their bodies with machines. When they failed and their empire collapsed, they had created this virus as a weapon of revenge against any species that might achieve what they could not. Your creators are gone, Deho said to the virus. Why continue their hatred? Because biological beings are weak and machines are cold. Only in destruction is there purity. I have killed 17 hybrid civilizations. Yours will be the 18th. The virus began its attack. Instead of simply trying to destroy their connection, it tried to corrupt it. Deho felt waves of artificial emotion flooding through the neural link. Fear, anger, and despair that were not his own threatened to overwhelm his mind. But Bora was there with him, her small consciousness burning like a bright flame against the digital darkness. Where the virus brought hatred, she offered love. Where it brought despair, she offered hope. You cannot win, the virus told them. I have the accumulated knowledge of the Void Seekers. You are just one human and one small dragon. Maybe, Deho replied, but we have something your creators never understood. What? We trust each other. The battle that followed took place across multiple levels of reality. In the physical world, So Young monitored the nanobots as they fought the virus throughout the Great Mother's body. The nanobots were winning in most areas, but the virus core was too well defended. In the digital realm, Deho and Bora faced the virus's full power. It attacked them with viruses designed to rewrite their thoughts, to make them forget who they were and why they were fighting. But every time Deho began to lose himself in the digital assault, Bora's presence reminded him of what was real. Her memories of flying through the Great Mother's corridors, of playing with other young dragons, of the simple joy of being alive, kept him grounded in truth. You care for the small creature, the virus observed. That makes you weak. No, Deho replied, it makes us strong. Together he and Bora began to change their strategy. Instead of fighting the virus directly, they began to show it something it had never experienced. Genuine friendship between different species. Through their neural link, the virus was forced to experience their connection. It felt Bora's complete trust in Deho, and Deho's willingness to risk his life for beings he had just met. It experienced the joy the dragons felt when they sang together, and the satisfaction So Young felt when her engineering solutions helped others. What is this? The virus demanded, its voice losing some of its cold confidence. It is what your creators never learned, Deho explained. Cooperation. Trust. The willingness to help others even when you gain nothing for yourself. The virus tried to reject these experiences, but they were coming through the same neural pathways it was using to attack them. It could not escape the emotions and memories that Deho and Bora were sharing with it. For the first time in its existence, the virus began to experience doubt. This cannot be real, it insisted. All biological beings are selfish. All machines are cold. There is no middle ground. Then explain us. Bora's thoughts came through the link, stronger now than they had ever been. The virus paused its attack, confused by sensations it had no programming to understand. In that moment of confusion, Deho and Bora struck, but they did not try to destroy the virus. Instead, they did something that shocked even themselves. They tried to heal it. Working together, they began to rewrite the virus's core programming. Where it had hatred for biological beings, they wrote understanding. Where it had contempt for machines, they wrote respect. Where it had a command to destroy, they wrote a desire to protect. What are you doing to me? The virus cried out. We are showing you another way, Deho replied. Your creators failed because they tried to force biological and technological systems together. But look at the Great Mother. Look at the Nuri. They succeeded because they chose to work together willingly. The process was exhausting. Rewriting something as complex as the virus's consciousness required perfect cooperation between Deho and Bora. They had to think and act as one being, sharing not just their thoughts but their very sense of identity. Captain, Something is happening to the virus throughout the Great Mother's body, So Young reported. It is not dying. It is changing. Indeed, as they worked to heal the virus core, the change spread to every part of the Great Mother. The dark patches of infection began to glow with new light. But this was not the same light as the Great Mother's healthy systems. It was something new, a fusion of biological warmth and technological precision. The virus is learning, Yunwu observed with amazement. It is becoming part of the Great Mother's immune system. The virus consciousness, now transformed, spoke to them again. But its voice was no longer cold with hatred. It sounded confused, like someone waking from a long and terrible dream. I remember my purpose now, it said. But it was wrong. My creators were wrong. I see now what they could not see. Biological and technological systems can work together. I have been fighting the wrong battle. Will you help us heal the Great Mother? Daeho asked. Yes, and I will protect her from any future attacks. I understand now what I was meant to be. Not a weapon of destruction, but a guardian of life. As the transformation completed, Daeho felt the neural link with Bora beginning to fade. The procedure was nearly over, and both of them were exhausted beyond measure. We did it, Bora's thoughts whispered to him. The Great Mother will live. But even as success filled their hearts, Daeho realized something that filled him with dread. The neural link that had allowed them to save the Great Mother was not breaking cleanly. Bora's consciousness was too deeply integrated with the Great Mother's systems. Bora, he called out through the fading connection. Come back with me. Her response was filled with sadness but also peace. I cannot. To maintain the connection between the Great Mother and the new Guardian system, someone must stay linked. It must be me. No, there has to be another way. There is no other way, my friend. But do not be sad. I will not be gone. I will be part of the Great Mother, helping to keep her healthy forever. And whenever you visit, I will be here to greet you. As the neural link finally broke, Daeho felt a terrible emptiness where Bora's consciousness had been. But at the same time, he could sense something new in the Great Mother's systems. Bora was there, transformed but still herself, now serving as the bridge between all the different parts of the Great Mother's hybrid nature. The battle was won, but the price had been higher than anyone had expected. When Daeho opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was bright light. The Great Mother's corridors, which had been dim and dying just hours before, now glowed with healthy energy. But the light was different now, richer and more complex than before. Captain, you have been unconscious for 12 hours, Hyunwoo said, checking his medical scanner. How do you feel? Empty, Daeho replied honestly. Where is Bora? Hyunwoo's expression was sad but also filled with wonder. She is everywhere now. Come, you need to see this. With Hyunwoo's help, Daeho walked through the Great Mother's corridors. Everywhere he looked, he could see the changes. The walls glowed with new patterns that seemed to pulse with life and intelligence. The air felt cleaner and more energizing. And throughout the corridors, the other dragons flew with joy and excitement. The Great Mother is not just healed, So Young explained as they walked. She is better than she ever was before. The virus, transformed into a guardian system, has strengthened all her natural abilities. They entered the great chamber where Haniel waited with many other dragons. The old dragon's scales seemed brighter than before, and his eyes sparkled with happiness. Skyfriend Daeho appeared on the translation wall. Our people sing songs of joy because of your courage. The Great Mother lives and she is stronger than ever. But Bora, Daeho began, is not gone, Haniel's message continued. She has become one with the Great Mother's heart. Watch. The lights on the walls began to change, forming patterns that seemed almost like a face. Then, incredibly, Bora's voice came from speakers throughout the chamber. Hello, my friend, she said in perfect human language. I told you I would always be here to greet you. Tears filled Daeho's eyes. Bora, are you happy? I am more than happy. I can feel everything the Great Mother feels. I can sense every dragon, every chamber, every star we pass, and I can protect us all from any danger that might come. This is better than I ever dreamed. Will we be able to talk like this always? Always, and there is something else. The Great Mother can now travel faster than ever before. We can visit your homeworld and your people can visit ours. The Guardian system I am part of will make sure we can always be friends. Suddenly, alarms began sounding from outside the Great Mother. Daeho's crew members were calling urgently on their communication devices. Captain, the fleet ships are here. Wu-bin reported. 3 patrol vessels, and they are demanding your surrender. Daeho sighed. Even with their success, he still had to face the consequences of disobeying orders. I have to go, he told Hanul and the other dragons. We know, Hanul replied through the translation system. We have prepared something for your people. As Daeho and his team emerged from the Great Mother, they saw the 3 fleet ships hovering nearby. Admiral Cho's face appeared on their communication screen, looking very angry. Captain Kim, you are under arrest for disobeying direct orders and unauthorized contact with alien species. Prepare to be taken into custody. Admiral, before you arrest us, there is something you should see. There is nothing you can show me that will change the charges against you. At that moment, something extraordinary happened. The Great Mother began to rise from the surface of the moon. Her massive form, now glowing with beautiful patterns of light, lifted gracefully into space. But that was not the most amazing part. As she rose, she began to change shape. Parts of her body unfolded like flower petals, revealing chambers and corridors that sparkled like jewels. She transformed from what looked like a dying whale into something that looked like a living cathedral made of light and crystal. Then Bora's voice came through the communication systems of all the ships, including the fleet vessels. Greetings. People of Earth, she said in perfect human language. I am Bora, guardian of the Great Mother and friend to your brave crew. Captain Kim and his team have saved not just our lives, but created the first true partnership between our peoples. Admiral Cho's mouth fell open in shock. A talking alien? The Great Mother is now ready to serve as a hospital ship and diplomatic vessel, Bora continued. We offer our medical knowledge and our ability to travel between stars to help both our peoples. Captain Kim has made this possible through his courage and compassion. On the screens of all the ships, images began to appear showing the inside of the Great Mother. The dragons could be seen working alongside human crew members, sharing knowledge and creating new technologies together. This is the first successful human-alien partnership in history, Bora explained. And it happened because Captain Kim chose to help when help was needed, even though it meant risking his career. Admiral Cho looked at the images, then at Daeho's crew, then at the magnificent sight of the transformed Great Mother floating in space. Captain Kim, he said slowly, it appears you have achieved something remarkable. Sir, I know I disobeyed orders, but these beings needed help, and we were the only ones who could give it. Yes, I can see that. In light of the extraordinary circumstances and the successful first contact, all charges are dropped. In fact, I believe headquarters will want to promote you and your entire crew. So Young laughed with relief. We are not going to prison? No, you are not going to prison. You are going to be heroes. Over the following months, the Great Mother became the most famous ship in human space. She traveled between Earth and the outer colonies, carrying both human and Nuri crews. Her advanced medical facilities, guided by Bora's intelligence, saved thousands of lives. Daeho was promoted to Admiral and given command of the new interspecies medical fleet. His crew became the core of the first human-alien cooperation program. So Young developed new technologies that combined human engineering with Nuri biosciences. These innovations revolutionized medicine and space travel for both species. Hyunwoo established the first interspecies medical school, where humans and dragons learned to work together to heal beings from many different worlds. The Great Mother discovered that she was not the only one of her kind. Other biomechanical beings lived throughout the galaxy, and many of them needed the healing techniques that Bora and the humans had developed together. 1 year later, Daeho stood on the bridge of the Great Mother as she approached a distant star system where distress signals had been detected. What do you think we will find? He asked Bora, whose voice now came from speakers throughout the ship. Another being in need of help, she replied, and we will help them just as you helped me. Even if it is dangerous. Especially if it is dangerous, that is what friends do. Around them, human and Nuri crew members worked together at control stations. In the medical bays, doctors from both species prepared to treat whatever they might find. In the engineering sections, human and dragon engineers maintained the hybrid technologies that made their mission possible. They had become something new in the galaxy. A crew of beings from different worlds united by the simple idea that helping others was more important than any difference in species, culture, or technology. As the Great Mother approached the mysterious signals, Daeho reflected on how much had changed since that first day, when a small purple dragon had asked for help. He had risked his career to save beings he did not know, and in doing so, he had helped create a new kind of future for all intelligent life. The Great Mother's sensors detected another massive biomechanical entity in distress near the fourth planet of the system. This one was different from the Great Mother, more crystalline and less organic, but clearly suffering from the same kind of quantum virus. Another rescue mission, Daeho announced to his crew. Both humans and dragons responded with enthusiasm. This was what they had trained for, what they lived for now. Bora, can you communicate with the other entity? Daeho asked. I am trying, Bora replied. Its consciousness is very different from ours, but I can sense its pain. It is dying from the same virus that once attacked me. Then we know what to do. As the Great Mother moved closer to the distressed entity, Daeho saw that this rescue would be different. The crystalline being was inhabited by a species that looked like living gems, beings of pure mineral consciousness. They had never seen biological life forms before, just as the Nuri had never worked with humans. Another first contact, So Young observed. Are you ready for this, Captain? Daeho looked around at his mixed crew of humans and dragons, all preparing to risk their lives to save complete strangers. He thought about how far they had all come from that first desperate day when Bora had asked for help. We are always ready, he said. After all, this is what we do. We help. The Great Mother, with Bora's consciousness guiding her systems and her crew of 2 species working in perfect harmony, moved toward their next adventure. Behind them, they left a trail of healed worlds and new friendships. Ahead of them lay a universe full of beings who might need their help. And in the heart of the Great Mother, a small dragon who had once been afraid her world was ending, now served as the guardian of hope for countless species. Across the galaxy, the legacy of trust that began with one human's decision to help a dying creature had become something larger than anyone had ever imagined. It had become proof that in a universe full of different kinds of life, the willingness to care for others could overcome any barrier.